Hello! Welcome back to my YouTube channel, The Old School English Teacher. Today we're going to talk about writing strong sentences, specifically the simple sentence. Now, what is a sentence, you ask? Well, a sentence is a group of words that expresses a complete thought. Why do I say that? Because I've read many incomplete thoughts over the years. So a review is in order. Okay, so we have four kinds of sentences in the English language. We have the simple sentence, the compound sentence, the complex sentence, and the compound complex sentence. Kind of a mouthful. Today we're going to really focus on the simple sentence, and it is composed of one main clause. That main clause has a subject and a verb. And I've given you an example here. The player falls. We don't know much about that player, but we just know that he fell. But if we use vivid adjectives and muscular verbs, we can enliven our writing. For example, the injured hockey player stumbles on the ice. So we have two adjectives, injured and hockey. So that gives us more information. And then we have a verb, stumbles. It's a little bit more muscular. It's doing more work in the sentence than just falls. And so when you assess your verbs, make sure that they're muscular. Make sure they're doing the heavy lifting in your sentences, because muscular verbs can prevent wordiness, which we always want to prevent. Notice that this sentence was written in present tense, and I want you to be aware of the tenses that you use with your verbs and the person. And I will tell you why. I have read many essays, and sometimes I'll have a student who will start out writing in present tense, and then they'll jump into past tense, and they might play around in present tense again, and they might write in future, and it's all over the place. The rule is, a general rule, there are exceptions, but the general rule is you pick a tense, whether it's present tense or past tense, and you stay in that tense for the duration of your essay. And it's the same with person. If you start out in first person, you want to stay in first person throughout the duration of your essay. You don't want to be hopping between first, second, and third person. So as we learn about the simple sentence, I will also be teaching you about tenses and how to be aware of them and how to use them correctly. Okay, so now we have a little story. The rain falls steadily. The rain floods the highway. A thunderstorm is predicted tomorrow. So notice that all the verbs are written in present tense. Falls, floods, is predicted. And it's written in third person. So we want to be consistent with our tenses and with our person. Okay, so now I'm going to challenge you to practice writing some simple sentences. I want you to tell a story. Use my story about the rain as your model. Use 4 or 5 simple sentences. Write in present tense. Write in third person. And create a little story. Okay, press pause while you create your story, and I will be here waiting for you. So how did you do? Now, sometimes when we're given a writing task, we get a little freeze of the brain, and some people call it writer's block. I don't like to use that term. I like to call it cognitive roadblock, because you can get out of your car and you can move that little roadblock, whereas writer's block, that looks like a big giant wall to me that no one can go over or around. So, how do you get through a cognitive roadblock? Well, I would use the model that I see in a book or someone has given to me, and I'll just plug in my words. And that helps get the creative juices flowing. I'll go, oh, okay, I can do this using my own ideas. So I'm giving you an example. Say you got stuck you couldn't think of a story like the one that I wrote about the rain. So you just take my story and you plug in different words, such as snow. The snow falls softly. The snowdrift is 6 feet high. The roads are closed. More snow is predicted tonight. So see, we're just writing to get this pattern down into our writing habits. Okay, so now this one is a little different. We're going to write in third person, but past tense. So Ernesto worked all summer. His family went on a cruise. Ernesto stayed home to work a construction job. Every day, Ernesto came home tired. His boss promoted him to supervisor. Ernesto made $6 more per hour. Ernesto saved his earnings for college. Okay, I want you to write a similar story. 6 to 7 simple sentences, past tense, third person. Press pause while you write your story, and I'll be waiting for you. Again, if you're stuck, use my story about Ernesto to get started. Change the nouns and verbs. Practice helps stamp this pattern in your head. And then the next time you write a story, you probably won't need to use my model or my example. You'll have your own ideas and own situations. And that comes from practice and building your confidence. Okay, so we know the structure of a simple sentence. It's one main clause. We have a subject and a verb. But that kind of writing is feels a little juvenile, a little immature, and so we want to learn how to enhance the simple sentence. And we're going to do that with this little story. Alexa fell into the water. She could not swim. She panicked. She swallowed water. Ralph rowed across the lake. He pulled Alexa out of the water. Ralph was a hero. Okay, this kind of writing is grammatically correct, but it's kind of like going to a party in a plain dress and no makeup. It's just not engaging. So we're going to add some vivid adjectives and muscular verbs to this piece of writing. So Alexa, she's still our subject, a 1-year-old Alaskan Husky. Those are my vivid adjectives. Plunged into a weak spot in the frozen lake. The puppy panicked. Alexa thrashed in the icy water. Ralph pushed his skiff across the lake. Ralph yanked Alexa into the boat. He wrapped his dog in a dry towel. Okay, these are all simple sentences, and it kind of does sound like a little metronome when you're reading it, but we want to get this structure down so that we can always call upon it when we're building our other types of sentences. So we have adjective, adjective. Now I know puppy is a noun, but it's also revealing something about the age of the dog, so I put it in blue. Icy is an adjective. Now look at these muscular verbs that I chose. Plunged, panicked, thrashed, pushed, yanked, wrapped. These muscular verbs are doing the heavy lifting in the sentence, and what that means is they're really doing their job. We don't need extra words to explain. These verbs are doing the heavy lifting. Okay, I think this is your last one. I want you to tell a story using 6 to 8 simple sentences. I want you to write in first person, past tense. Here's your example. Yesterday I played tennis. I played tennis with my son. He played very well. I played better. I let him beat me. He was in a good mood all day. He even cleaned his room. Okay, so this is okay. It's grammatically correct. It follows the narrative flow, but we don't know who is who. We really know very little about these people that are playing tennis. So how do we enhance it? Well, we're going to use vivid, specific adjectives. We're going to use muscular verbs. We're going to use adverbs sparingly. Okay, so here's the improved version. Yesterday I played tennis in 95-degree heat. Whew, that's hot. I played tennis with my 12-year-old son. His serves were powerful. My backhand was strong. I let him win all 3 sets. All day my son made fun of his dad's mistakes. Okay, so by the end we know it's a father-son playing tennis. And the writer put mistakes in quotes because Dad really kind of faked the mistakes. And so he put those in quotes. And I wanted to give you a mini punctuation lesson. I want you to note that period. We put our periods and commas inside quotation marks. And that's just an easy way to remember that they always are tucked inside those quotation marks. We don't want them hanging out in the cold. We want them inside the quotation marks. Okay, now how do we use the simple sentence as adult writers? I like to use the simple sentence for emphasis. Sometimes I will use a simple sentence that'll be my paragraph, and it will transition into my next paragraph. I like to use my simple sentence for emphasis when I'm writing a narrative. For example, the intruder knocked over the crystal lamp. So that's a simple sentence. I've enhanced it with an adjective. And it's sitting there all by itself in my writing. And so the eye is drawn to it, and that's our focus. And so use that simple sentence when you kind of want to stop your narrative and make your readers focus on one action or object. Another way I like to use the simple sentence is when I'm writing a paragraph. I like to use it as my topic sentence because that creates focus for me as a writer. It also directs your reader and they acknowledge your focus. So we have an example here. Individuals incur debt for 3 reasons. Good, simple sentence. The first and most common cause is individuals or families living beyond their means. The second cause is assuming too much debt. The third cause is impulse purchases and not sticking to a budget. And then the writer would continue to using statistics, facts. He would probably quote an expert and give lots of examples. So the 2 ways I like to use a simple sentence is if I want to emphasize something in particular in my writing, and I also like to use it as my topic sentence. Okay, I want to remember sap. We talked about sap in another video. The sap of a tree nurtures the branches and the trunk, keeps it healthy and strong, living for many, many years. Well, you want to build your sap, your writing sap, so that you have strong, healthy writing. And we do that by studying the structure of the simple sentence. We apply the simple sentence structure to our writing. And we practice, practice, practice. I would encourage you to repeatedly watch this video until you are confidently writing simple sentences. And also enhance your simple sentences with vivid, specific adjectives and those muscular verbs. Use adverbs, but use them sparingly. Be consistent with your verb tenses and be consistent with first and third usage of your person. Now, how do we integrate simple sentences into our daily life? Well, look for simple sentences when you are reading. A billboard, a book, anything. Look for those simple sentences. Use simple sentences in all your writing for 2 weeks. I challenge you to do that. Because remember, clear, simple sentences are the foundation of elegant writing. We're going to learn how to write compound sentences, complex sentences, compound, complex sentences, but at the foundation of all those other types of sentences is the simple sentence. I have some book recommendations that I have found very beneficial for myself and for my students. The Pocket Style Manual by Diana Hacker. I really enjoy her book because she talks about clarity, she talks about grammar, she gives lots of examples. It's a very clear and easy book to understand. She also teaches you how to document your papers using MLA, APA, and Chicago style. And again, she gives lots of good examples. I also like the Little Seagull Handbook. It's a wonderful little grammar handbook that everyone should have some kind of grammar handbook in their bookcase. And she's very straightforward. He is very straightforward. He has a good index, good table of context, and gives lots of good examples. Another book that I thoroughly and highly recommend is How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. This isn't an academic book, but I have found it useful. I used to assign this book to my students. When you're in college, when you're in that first job, and you're meeting people from all walks of life who think differently and talk differently than you, and maybe have had a different upbringing, he teaches you how to connect with people from all walks of life. He teaches you how to be congenial, how to get along, how to help people appreciate your point of view, and how to appreciate other people's point of view. And so I have found his book just very, very valuable. His principles are timeless, they are universal. Now, if you do get this book and read it, it was written in 1936, and some of his examples are a little dated, but I find them charming. So these are my 3 books, A Pocket Style Manual, The Little Seagull Handbook, and How to Win Friends and Influence People. And I hope that you will go on Amazon and purchase those. My next video will be about the compound sentence. So before you view that, I want you to practice those simple sentences so that you are prepared for the compound sentence. Bye-bye.